Hi and welcome to On Two Wheels. So I've not really been on that many rides in a while, and I need to start going out again now that we are back out of lockdown for the second time. So I'm thinking of doing a bit of routine maintenance on the bike, an oil change and some general checks because I've been on a few off-road rides and I want to make sure that nothing's fallen off and everything's as it should be on the bike. So let's get right to it. So on the DRZ, I normally follow a service interval of about 2,500 kilometers. But with lockdown and working from home, I barely got 2,000 kilometers on the bike. I've got about 1,500 Ks, and that too has been off-road ride. So that's fairly brutal and torturous on the engine itself. So I've got the time and oil is cheap, so I figured I'll do an oil change and see what the condition of the current oil is. But at the same time, I'll just make sure that everything's tight, that I don't have any loose bolts, and just prepare my bike for the next ride. So for those of you who have been following my DRZ build, something that I did with my bike was vinyl wrap it. And the vinyl wrap actually came out pretty well, but it is vinyl and it doesn't last very long. So on some of the parts that were wrapped, I could see the vinyl coming off, but in some other areas, I see it hold very well. So if I look at the side panel, they've really held on very well considering it's a carbon fiber wrap with some custom decals and a clear coat on top of it. So having the clear coat on top of the decals actually keeps it from lifting and makes it a little bit more durable. But at the same time, I also wrapped the frame guards. With the boot rubbing up against it, it's starting to come off, but most of it is still on and it still looks pretty decent. So I'm gonna keep it. Same goes for the bash plate. It lasted a lot longer than I thought it would. It's a bit dirty and muddy, but it's, well, holding and looks nice. Now the wrap on the tank, on the other hand, isn't going very well. As you see, some of it is coming off, and at the same time the bike has been on its side a few times, so you could see it kind of rip off. This is kind of expected, and that's one reason I decided to not wrap the entire tank. And I've gone with just some smaller decals with significantly large holes for the petrol vapor to breathe out. So it's lasting pretty well. So there is a little bit of bubbling, but you can always let that air out through the holes that were designed into the vinyl. The wrap on the rear fender also is holding pretty well. Now, so the side panel, as you see, has had a fall and it's scratched up a bit, but at the same time it's not really lifting the entire thing. The scratch and the damage, it remains isolated to that particular area and it's not spreading, so that's a good thing. So as you recall, I also wrapped the hand guards. It was probably the most useless part to wrap, but surprisingly the bike has had a few falls, but the wrap is still on and it's not been damaged at all. Not bad at all. So let's start off with the maintenance. The main thing that I wanted to do was change the oil. Like I said, it's had about 1,500 kilometers of hard riding, so, and it's been in the bike for about 4 or 5 months now, so no harm changing it. The first thing to do is take the bash plate off, and I'm going to take it from there. So I have now taken off the bash plate and I'm looking at the underside, and the first thing I see is a fair bit of mud and dirt. So this is all that the red clay that came out from the Tulangi ride, and yeah, I should probably just wash that off as well. And yeah, there's a little bit more left over in these areas, so I'll just probably hose it down after I've changed the oil. And then I also noticed that I've got a slight oil drip from one of the drain bolts. So this mild oil leak is because I couldn't find my crush washers that I had purchased for the drain bolt, and last time I changed it I had to reuse an old crush washer, and because I didn't want to strip the thread, I didn't tighten the drain bolt completely. So I figured a little bit of an oil drip is better than a stripped thread. But that being said, this is the only one that's leaking. We've got the drain bolt on the frame. That seems fairly dry. Same goes for the drain bolt at the bottom of the oil filter, and the oil filter cover is not leaking anything either, so that part is all covered. So the last time I did an oil change, I changed the oil filter. So in this case, I'm not going to change the filter itself, but and the spark plug was also replaced about less than 2000 kilometers ago. So pretty much the oil is the only thing that needs to be replaced. Oh, also forgot to mention, it's always good to start the bike and let the engine heat up a bit before you do an oil drain. So the bike was definitely due for an oil change. So if you look at it, it's actually turned black a fair bit, and yeah, I've seen much better oil. Time to change it for sure. So something else to keep an eye out for when doing an oil change is for little metal filings or metal fragments caught up on the magnetic tip of the drain bolt of the engine case. So in this case, it's pretty clean. There isn't anything much, but the oil is definitely in a bad condition. So I just realized that I've dropped one of the drain bolts into the oil. Rookie mistake. Time to go bobbing for drain bolts. Here it is. So instead of putting my entire hand in there, I'm going to use a magnet to try to fish it out. So I've let the oil drip out for long enough. I think pretty much all that can come out has come out. So I'm just going to put the drain bolts back on and start filling up the oil. When tightening the drain bolts, I believe that it's always better to be a bit loose than over tighten it, because over tightening could mean that you strip a thread, which is the last thing I want to do. Next is the drain bolt onto the frame. Keep your hand away from the hot exhaust if you just warmed up your bike. And be careful. Done. So now before I put the bash plate on, I'm going to wash off the dirt and mud that's at the bottom of the engine. So the oil debate isn't something that I want to get into, because there's never a right answer and there's always someone who will tell me that I'm wrong. So I'm going to go with what the manufacturer said and use 10W40. But at the same time, I do believe that if by some chance you've got a slightly older or worn engine, it wouldn't hurt to use a slightly thicker oil, because you need a bit more lubrication, and it's, well, a thick oil just gives you that. Oh yeah, so the DRZ takes 1.7 liters of oil. It's always good to measure because you don't want to overfill it. That's 1 liter. And another 700 milliliters. Yep, so that took 1.8 liters, 1.7 liters. Something else that I kind of like to do is measure how much oil comes out of the bike. So this actually gives me an idea on if the bike itself is burning oil. So I had 1.6 liters of oil come out of the bike, which is actually not too bad. And I don't recall topping up the oil at any point in the last 1000 kilometers. So 100 milliliters of oil for 4,000 kilometers is not too bad at all. So I'm going to put the bash plate back on and wrap up this job. So I'm actually doing a quick walk around the bike as well, just making sure all the nuts and bolts are tight. Unfortunately, it's getting a bit dark, so I probably won't be able to get any good footage of it, but I'm sure you guys do this on a frequent basis as well. So that's pretty much it for today's session. I've got a few other video ideas coming up. One is my new rally tower. So I've got the latest rally tower that I'm going to put on my DRZ. That will probably be the next video. And I've also got a couple of rides that I have planned. So hopefully COVID doesn't stop us from going out anymore and I can go on these rides. And at the same time, if you have any video ideas or content that you would like to see, let me know. I would love to hear these ideas. So once again, thank you very much for watching on Two Wheels. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel to see what other content comes out next. And at the same time, hit the bell icon so that you're the first to know. Thank you again for watching on Two Wheels. I'll see you next time.